Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D. My guest today is someone that I have known since the late 1990s. I used to fly fish with him on the Salmon River, and he used to actually help me tie flies. In fact, he might have tied like a couple thousand flies for me at one point. Either way, he's a great guy. He then went into creating his own fly rods, and he does destinations. He's a guide, and he has part to do with a new movie coming out later this fall. Before I get really too far into this, I want to bring in my friend Steve Burchard there. Steve, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We were talking a little bit off, and I mean, 1998, 1999 is when we first met. But before we get into that, when did you actually start getting into fishing first and then fly fishing? You grew up in upstate New York, so there's tons of streams and rivers all around.
Yeah, so I grew up, my father was a big kind of outdoors guy. Grew up more trapping and fishing. Never got me into that, but he was a big walleye fisherman. And every Saturday morning we would go chase walleyes. And that's kind of how it started. My older brother wants nothing to do with fishing, so maybe it was a way for me to get away from him. I don't know, but I'm in the fly fishing world. I'm the a river runs through it generation. I was eighth grade, seventh, eighth grade when that came out,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of changed my whole outlook on, man, there's something cooler, there's something more fun that just kind of made me feel like I wanted to be part of. And you know this and can answer this too. It's like it just fly fishing. You kind of feel a little closer to nature.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I got into it in high school. I even had the nickname Orvis because I had an Orvis T-shirt with a brook trout on it, in high school. And I got made fun of for a lot of it, but it's funny, those same kids that made fun of me are now like, oh, it's so cool, all this, all this stuff that you do. But yeah, that's kind of how it all began, and it's I've stayed with it, so it's been pretty fun journey.
It's an amazing journey because you've taken so many different turns with fly fishing in general. First of all, so I met you, as we mentioned, late 1990s, in a little fly shop in a small building in upstate New York. It was the 3 Mill building. For people who know Utica, they still know that there. And it was called Rising Trout Outfitters. Our friend Jordan. How did you get hooked up with Jordan? How did you all start meeting and working together?
So, I think maybe I filled one resume out in my life. I've always been one of those who kind of have relied on connections and everything and who I knew. You had Gene Quigley on here. I actually worked for Gene in the medical field through the fly fishing world. Like, it's a very small world.
Yep.
Jordan and I met through ex-girlfriends when I was in college. And I was going out, I turned 21, it was like 98, 99. And we ended up, going to dinner, I think, one night with them. And yeah, they were just like, you guys got to meet. You're both like fly fishing. And that's how it progressed. And we became good friends. And then the funny story is when I was a senior in college, I was a baseball player and needed 3 credits to graduate. And I was like, oh shit, my parents are going to kill me if I don't, they were like, if I don't go up there on stage. So I convinced somehow my career counselor, guidance counselor in college that I was going to do an internship for him, which he was nice enough to sign off of. And I don't want to tell Des Moines College that's how I graduated, but that's how I graduated and got to get my diploma. So
we all have crazy stories. If I told you the stories about, they had to rewrite the Albany student guide because I did internship, independent study, independent research, and something else. And you were only supposed to take one of them for 3 credits. I took 4 of them for 12 credits.
nice. I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah, no, don't. I mean, if the system's there, you make it work for you. It's all good. In fact, I just told my daughter that story the other day because she just graduated college. Crazy. Anyway, all right.
We're getting old, Matt. We're getting old.
We are getting old. We are, for sure. So you did a little bit of guiding in upstate New York, but you really started guiding. You made a switch from living in upstate New York and you went down to Long Island, and that's where you really kind of got the guiding bug. And part of that was your wife was an amazing angler.
Yeah. So I had started, so I didn't, yeah, the guiding was a little bit here and there. I was more in the competitions, the casting comps and all that stuff. I got really involved in that. And I don't know really how, I think it was in, let's see, 2000, it was actually at the old Somerset fly fishing show. I was there and I was going to guide for carp. And my wife was a fly fishing guide out here in Long Island, East End, and was with a flats boat company. And I actually I didn't even meet her. And at the time, and I was talking to them about possibly getting a boat, and then that's what I was going to do because, I mean, I was 23, 24, Matt. I don't, I mean, unlike you, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I tell people like when baseball ended, I was like, well, I can drink really well, so let me bartend and let me guide because I like to fish. Like that was like the two things that I kind of knew.
Right.
Um, so I did that, and I was talking to Bob Popovics, who is a legendary fly tyer,
Yep.
who was a friend of mine who I'd gotten to know through Jean Quigley, actually, a couple of years before. And she came up, and Bob introduced us. And I think it was like 6, 7 months later, she was like, "Hey, you should move out here." And
Hmm.
at 24, I was like, sure, why not? And then here we are. What's it been, 20 something years later? And we have a kid who just graduated high school. So
Right.
crazy world. So yeah, so then I ended up here and guided a little bit. I ended up falling into, I worked privately for a guy captaining a boat. So he was CEO of a big company, and we had a boat here and a boat in Key Largo, Florida. And I just did that, and it kept me in the fishing world.
Right.
And which was awesome. I tried not to compete against my wife because it was like, here, she's a big name, and I'm trying to make it. So it worked out well that I wasn't like on the water all the time with her and all that. So, my true passion in fly fishing is teaching casting.
Hmm.
I love it. You know how much I like to cast.
Yep.
And guiding, I used to get annoyed because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like you just paid us so much money to come fish for the day, and you can't throw a line like 40 feet. It's like, and it would drive. And here we are. It's like if someone said to you, Matt, like you're going to play Augusta next week, are you going to go hit golf balls? Like most likely you are
All day. Yeah.
all day, right? And I
Right.
never understood why guys who or women or whoever come out here, they don't practice and they don't come out here. And here it is, like you see this epic fishery. It's kind of in a little decline here right now, but back then it was just unbelievable. I mean,
Hmm.
thousands and thousands of fish were everywhere, and they just couldn't do it. It just blew my mind. So I kept doing the teaching thing, and I still do that a lot. I still do a lot of lessons. And that's what kind of led to the rod company because I was just like, man, I really have spent so much time kind of diving into how the rod works.
Right.
Um, that I don't know. I thought it would be great, but there's more to it. It's an awesome. It's become a passion project, but it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of work. Before we get into the rod company, so you
Mhm.
mentioned you were in some tournament fishing,
Yep.
2003, 2004, 2006 Fly Fishing Masters, 2004 ESPN's Great Outdoor Games, 2009 Montauk Redbone Tournament Grand Champion, and
Yep.
2010 Manhattan Cup Most Bass Release. I'm going to tell you right away, I don't know what half of those things are, but it's totally like
it's
impressive as
it,
you know what. I mean, that's awesome
well,
stuff.
it's not. I mean, it's cool. I'm glad I did them. It's funny. I was just talking to someone today about. I wish they would bring some of the tournaments back. Some of the ones like the Redbone and the Manhattan Cup, they were cool. They're great charity events. Cystic
Mhm.
fibrosis and is it cystic? Yeah, and the Veterans is the Manhattan Cup, and they're both awesome tournaments. I kind of step back a little bit. I love doing them. I miss them. I really miss the casting, like the Great Outdoor Games and all that, because to me, you didn't even get to fish if you couldn't cast.
Mhm.
So if you didn't finish in, the top 5 or 10 guy, depending on where they were one year, I think the ESPN games was top 6.
Wow.
Um, so if you didn't finish in the top 6, you didn't get to fish. So that was super cool. It's very dorky. Don't get me wrong. I kind of feel it's like a little bit of a Star Trek convention for fly casting guys. But um, as a guy who had a baseball career who was kind of bummed that it ended, it really filled a gap in my life of it's not so much like you and I fish together.
Right.
I don't care if you catch 20 fish and I catch 2. It doesn't matter. It was more of
It's
kind of
never that way. It's
challenging.
always the other way around, just so we all know.
Well, I don't know. You're pretty good out there, buddy. But it's more about with yourself and kind of that's why I really the ESPN one was cool because it was down in Almirada and I won that one. That was the only one I won. I
Mhm.
came in second a lot. There's guys a lot better than me. And that's the thing. Like no matter how good I got, they were just there was those guys that were just a little bit better.
Right, right. But I mean, casting is the thing. You even still teach casting to this day. So that then you said made the transition to, understanding the casting, the flex points in the rod, how to load the rod. That brought you into designing rods. And so how did Rise Fishing and the evolution of Rise Fishing fly rods then come about?
It was I kept everything back and you remember this too. Everything was just built for saltwater was a broomstick,
Hmm.
right? They would just be like, "Oh, you just need a fast rod." And what would happen was is I it was hard to teach guys. I mean, I've guided some very cool people. I guided Jimmy Buffett and some other well-known guys and they come on the boat with these fast rods and they'd have an 8 weight say and they'd put an 8 weight line on it and it just didn't load up. And not to get too technical, but rods are meant to load on like an 8 weight's 210 grains. That's how the first 30 feet is weighed. So that's what it's supposed to flex. So I just kept thinking there's got to be a way to develop an easier casting rod. And that's what I tried to do.
Hmm.
I really wanted to get into it. There's a little more to the story we'll get into, but for me, that's really what I wanted to do, kind of have that be my legacy because I love to teach. And I'll say this like, I mean, I'm 6'5" I being a pitcher, everyone has like, I'm going to have a different level of coordination and athletic ability. I'm tall, my arms, I have super long arms.
Right.
So I'm going to cast different. But the thing is in the end, when you get your fly line out there and I get mine out there, we have to have the same mechanics. And if you look at like the Yankees pitching staff, um, they have 13, 14 guys in their staff. They all look different, but they all have the same mechanics. And I think it's something that was missed in fly fishing and still is, where we tell people you have to do it this way. This is how I do it. And I didn't like that. So I wanted to just create a rod that was a great casting rod that was easy for anybody who was a beginner to an intermediate,
Hmm.
um, and even an advanced caster. And I think we did a great job. I mean, it's been a lot of years. I would put my rods up. We are the little guy still, but I'll put my rods up against anyone. In fact, I've got some stuff. A good friend of ours who's considered probably the best caster in the world, a guy named Rick Hartman from South Texas. He's using some of our stuff in a prototype that we're trying to make because he's going to go do the World Championships in Europe next year, and working with him to do some stuff. And it's super cool that a little company like ours can compete with the big guys.
Yeah.
Apparently, they were saying one of the prototypes that I designed, they were just raving about. He and guys like Steve Rajeff, they were throwing it. It was literally like the two best rods of the day were ours and one other company. So
Wow.
that's huge for us. I mean, that's just like a big pat on the back. I get a big smile. I'm gonna go have a beer after this for that one. But it's cool that we can do it, and it's really it's part of the whole. I get dorky, I get technical. I'm trying not to sound too dorky here, but I geek out with that stuff.
No, I don't think it's dorky at all. I think it's your passion. It's what you do. It's what you understand, and I think it comes through in flying colors. I mean, so when you hand somebody who's an expert fly angler, above the level that you're at, well above what I'm at, and they then put your rods to the test and they geek out about it. That is a huge feather in your cap. It's not even a question. It's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun, and I think I try to do more like look its lines and this and that too. I mean, there's so much more to it. I don't think you golf, and I'm sure there's so many things that each person you really need to get fitted. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy teaching. It's why I'm going to start doing schools again.
Hmm.
I've got a couple lined up this summer up in Maine at the Lakewood camps, which is like 175-year-old great brook trout sporting lodge that I mean 4 different presidents have fished there. So now that my son's graduated, as you have a little more free time when your
Yep.
kids are out. So I still do a lot of that, and I'm looking to do more just because it's again it's my passion. So
Right. So when someone contacts you or you start designing a rod, what are you thinking? Okay, I want to first design this rod for specific type of water or specific type of fish. How are you then? How is this all formulating in your brain?
it's a great question because, and I've said this, it's really sometimes hard. I think for me, I don't guide anymore, but when we guided, what helped me was guiding, putting these prototypes. And I've said this to a lot of people: if you put guides on a broomstick, I'm going to be able to cast it. And it was very hard for me sometimes to design something because I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I would get clients on my boat who couldn't throw it. And it took me a while to kind of figure out why
Hmm.
and where to go. And one of the things that, so it kind of ironic that you bring this up. So Rick today called me from California when they were casting with all these guys, and he said the one thing everyone commented on your rods was that you don't need to hit them that hard. You have to let the rod do the work, and that's how we design every rod. If you talk to anybody who casts a rod, they're like, "Yeah, I just kind of let it go. I just get it to do what it's supposed to do, and it does it." And that's our mo. Now, are there faster rods out there that may do a better job for certain things? Yes, but I've always kind of prided myself in that because you can't really design one rod. I wish I could.
Hmm.
The
Right.
industry's not big enough. It's not the bass world. If you look at, I mean, you probably have a lot of fly rods, but most guys don't have 30 fly rods.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Right.
know, so you're going to have a 5 weight for trout. You might have a small stream rod, and then you might have one or two saltwater rods, and that's it. So
Hmm.
you have to make one that's versatile. And in the beginning, I would be like, "Oh, this thing's great," and then all of a sudden, like my wife would come back. She's like, "They hated it, but they love this one," and I was like, "Wait, what? They like this one?" So it really, I think that's what helped propel our rods to what they are today because I got so much feedback from the average guy that
Right.
just, like maybe only fish 20 times a year,
And
not 20 times a month.
And so that feedback you then take back into changing the rod, changing the mechanics and all of that and how the rod loads. And that helps you make it easier for the inexperienced angler and then the advanced angler to then throw the rod. As you said, let the rod do the work.
Yes. So there's so much. I mean, there's different graphite. There's now different resins. There's
Mhm.
these nano resins which are amazing and making rods so light and so strong. And that can be a hindrance too because you can design a rod that's so light in the tip that most guys can't feel it. Because you almost want a little bit of weight. Like
Right.
I know you've spay fished a lot. As you know, in spay fishing, if you have no weight in the tip and you're doing your cast, the tip can't track and you get
Right.
what we call tip wobble, and that will affect the cast. Well, it's the same thing when you're rocking and rolling on a boat off of Montauk Point. So all of our rods are designed specifically for that. I'm very lucky. I work with a factory in South Korea. We do manufacture. I have an assembly facility in Michigan
Mhm.
that we use, but our blanks are all made in South Korea and with a lot of companies. So we're actually with two or three. I won't mention them, but they're really big companies, and the engineers are great. So I get to work with some awesome people. I've always said in anything, I'm only as good as the people you can surround me with. Same as when I pitched. I mean, if my infield wasn't good, I wasn't getting out of a game. So I think we have a great team, and it's been an awesome experience. I mean, this is our 14th year, so it's
And so when I look at your webpage here, and I have it up so we both can see it, I mean, there's the Level Series rod, the Shearwater Series rod, Black and Tan, Euro nymphing rods, River Series, Streamwalker Series, and then you even have Blackwater Spay and Switch rods. So, Steve, I mean, if I'm contacting you for the first time, I mean, there's eight, seven rod series here, and then you have the variations in them. How do I even know what I'm looking for? I mean, what are you guiding me to?
it's funny. We're probably the lowest amount of SKUs I could get it down to. So basically, we tried to do price points.
Okay,
So the Black and Tan series, we kept it. We wanted price points. So it's your kind of intro rod. It's great. It's a medium fast rod. It's kind of standard IM6, slightly above IM6 graphite. That was like the big thing for
right.
years. I'm sure you remember. They do things a little differently now, but and then we needed a Euro nymph rod. So that's a big thing now. So That's a similar rod that's called our dredge series. So that's there. The other ones is where I really get into the design work. Our level series was like our first rod.
Hmm.
Easy casting rod. There's not a lot in that price point on the market. Now we sell about 90% direct to consumer.
Hmm.
So we're able to keep our prices down. That rod at 550 would compare to the $900 rods today. And then our Shearwater series, the River series, those and the Streamwalker, they get into that nano resin, which is it's expensive technology. We
Right.
assemble those here in the States. We use a lot of American components. Our cork comes from Canada now, but the components, all the hardware,
Right.
everything but the blank comes from the U.S. And then I have an assembly facility, like I said, in Michigan. So the cost is a little higher there, but it allows me to produce, just because we're small, it allows me to produce a high quality rod that competes with the $1,100-$1,200 rods out there
Hmm.
today. Um, and at a price point, we sell it for 800. It just allows me to do it and not have to order, hit minimums of huge numbers that for me, just I wouldn't be able to do. So
Right.
we've definitely, yeah, we've thought outside the box on this a little bit. So
And so when I look at let's say we take some of the top of the line, the Shearwater series or the Streamwalker or the River, are those both fresh and salt water? Or do I then say to you, hey, Steve, I want to go, for tarpon. And you're like, well, Matt, you want to go for this. I mean, is that
yep.
conversation happening?
Yeah. So in each series, you have your weights. The level series, because it's our most popular price point wise, and just ease of casting, we offer that in probably the most sizes. So we're 5 through 12 weight.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have tarpon sizes in there. The Shearwater is, it's one of those. I probably should have made it 6 through 10 and only salt water, but it's such a great casting rod that I end up making it. Like I'll do something funky, like the 5 weight, which is a trout rod. Like I sell it as like a big river rod. It's a pretty fast rod, but it'll have a small fighting butt on it.
Right.
Just something different. You don't see that out there. The River series was a super fun one. It is the highest modulus we go. I don't know if there's a rod lighter on the market, to be honest with you. I'll put it up against anything. There's actually a slight mix up. It was only supposed to be a 3, 4, 5, and 6 weight.
Mm-hmm.
It was like our technical trout rod. And I actually have an English Mastiff named River. And so that's really how it came up. But the name, but the factory ended up calling us and like, yeah, we got them, and they made it through a 7-weight. And I was like, I really didn't ask for sevens. And it's funny just how things work out, a little whatever. But it's one of my favorite rods I've ever thrown. It just in the series, I had nothing, like I designed all the rods, and for some reason they made a blank. I'd like to say I'm a genius, Matt, and I made this awesome rod, but I'm telling you, like I want you to throw it one day. You're gonna be like, holy cow. So I just kept it. So like I said, some things happen. The Shearwater is a very interesting story that like I had made this rod and it was unsanded and no paint. I wanted it crazy light. And I'm like, all right, I got the rod we want. And I put the order in for all the blanks. And for some reason, my engineers and everyone reached out like, what color do you want? And I don't know why. I was like, oh, let's do this. And literally, I like a month later, I go, why did I paint this blank? Like, I like the blank the way it was. I was like, and when you paint a blank and you sand it, you can really change the way that, everything you did could just change.
Mm-hmm.
So I stressed. And then all of a sudden it came and we built them up and I was like, holy cow, this thing's awesome. So, it just is one of those, like, I like to say, I'm awesome, but you got to have a little luck. And I had a little luck on a couple of things. So
No,
I'm okay to admit it.
that is really, really cool. So I mean, if I said, Steve, you're gonna go fishing, and I guess I have to put this together, right? You're gonna go, because we used to fish the Salmon River, or you're gonna go fish the Oak. What are you taking? Like, what is your immediate choice of rod?
If we were doing, some of those trips, like more of the Steelhead and Browns, I definitely would take that River 7 just because it's such a fun rod. It's so light. I would do that. My go-to, I would tell anyone, I mean, those levels they're like, I mean, tanks is not the best word because they're not heavy, but they're just industry. I call them the workhorse.
Right.
They're
Yep.
just like, It's like, when you're in king salmon country, you
You
just want to yank those things and you're fighting them.
yeah.
Those things are awesome.
Right.
I tend to go towards the shearwater and river series for everything I do, but that's just me. I, when we go do shows, there's always the guy who's like, I really want to like the shearwater, and then I see him cast, and they might not be good enough for it, and that's something that is a very interesting thing. And going back to the casting a little bit, is because of people's different abilities, some rods aren't going to perform as well for them. So I always go there, but again, I mean, not to be a sales guy, if you're just starting out, go get our intro rod. You're going to be super happy with it.
Right.
You can beat the heck out of it, and when you're ready in a few years, step up and get one of the higher end ones.
Right. I mean, I think the thing that you're looking for is, especially when you're young into this, you're new into this, is, I mean, just being able to cast not so much distance, but accuracy is always important too. So you need both.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I teach, the one thing I say is try to be as accurate as you can from 40 to 60 feet. There isn't a fish that you can go after, or a guide that wouldn't put you on a fish that you will not catch every fish that you throw. I know we did the tournaments and everyone, and I see it even here. Everybody just wants to go cast as far as they can. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go to trout streams and watch people walk across to the bank when the fish are right there at their feet. So you don't need, it's really technical. My advice is learn to cast, buy a cheap fly line, mark it every 30, 40, 50, mark it and practice. Get a bunch of hula hoops, go in your backyard and just practice, and then learn the river. And I think, and this is something I know you'll agree with, don't just go walking in the water. Look around.
Right.
See what you see. Like when I met you, we were a couple years ago in Rochester area when you and I were fishing there. I mean, those fish were right at our feet.
Yes.
And most people would have just like walked right through most of those areas,
or stand in the middle of the
yes,
damn run, and you're like, what are you doing?
Why are you pushing the fish, right? You're like, I mean, how many times when you were fishing the Salmon River did you look, you're like, why did all the fish stop running? And then you look down and there's two guys standing in the middle of the run.
In the middle of the run. It's like,
Right.
just read the water. Please learn how to read the water once. Yeah.
And there's a lot of great information out there on YouTube and, and all that. Just, just start fishing at your feet. And I, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, but when we talked about the Euro rod, I got into Euro nymphing by a guy named John Wilson, who's one of the owners of Cortland Fly Lines. And John kind of brought Euro nymphing here to this country, or one of the originals, back in the day. And we were fishing the Delaware, and you know me, I guided the Delaware River. I knew the Delaware River very well. And first time ever taking him there, I'm like, I'm going to show this guy everything. I'm riding my high horse here because I got John with me. And he takes his Euro rod, and we literally were going to cross over to an island and fish the main run on the other side. And he stopped about 8 feet into crossing. I was just going to cross it. Never fished it once, Matt, in my entire life. And John starts nymphing through in maybe 8 inches of water and pulled, I'll send you the picture, an 18-inch brown.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, wait, what? And this was probably, I don't know, 12 years ago now. And I think even we've been fishing, we're still learning. That's what's awesome about this sport. But when you see stuff like that, you're like, man, there's fish everywhere, and you just got to pay attention.
You do, for sure. And that's a great story and a great line, because you never stop learning in this sport, for sure. You don't. Steve, I want to bring up some pictures here, because I mean, you have fished, you and I have fished in Alaska, and you got to fish it just a couple months before me. And when you came back, I was all like, oh, how was it? And you were like, it was like an aquarium. Every day you stepped out. It's incredible.
I won't tell you that we're going back August 1st, actually. I'm super excited. So we fish, we take a group to the Connecticut River, which is north of Bristol Bay. And it was awesome. It's one of those places where it's not hard fishing, as you know. Right. And I just think there's so many fish. I think when I left there, Matt, and I wonder if you had the same feeling, you went, what was it like here 100 years ago? Like, because every time we go to these great places
Yep.
to fish, I always wonder, like, well, if it's this good, what was it like before, before
Before man really got into what we do now, right?
the amount of fish was unbelievable to
Hmm.
me. And just to see an ecosystem like that blew me away. And I'm sure you felt the same way. I mean, I thought I would go to Alaska and be like, okay, I got to go once. It's out of my system. And all I've been thinking about is going back
Right.
because of it.
My thought, and my wife knows this, is 2027 for us. So so because I did it last year in 24. This year I'm trying to do a couple of things, one with you, which we'll slightly
Yep.
talk about because we're going to talk about destinations, and also 26 is the 25th wedding anniversary. So I don't know that I can say let me go fishing and not do an anniversary trip.
I do have someone who's missing their wedding anniversary to go to Baja with me next week. So I don't know, Matt.
Yeah,
There's
but
a chance.
is it a 25th though? I mean, is it like a
Oh
12
no,
or
I don't. I didn't ask. He just said he's missing it. So, but I'll see how his wife handles him catching rooster fish next week. But I'll let you know how it goes. If you're
uh,
divorced or not.
you've done we'll get into destinations here because I just brought up this picture of you with bonefish. This is Crooked Island, I think you go to, right?
We've been to a bunch of places. So Crooked, Andros, that was actually Abaco. So that's my
Okay.
business partner in the ride company, Kobe Falks. He was an Under Armour guy.
Hmm.
His brother was the co-founder of Under Armour, and we met in 15, 14 in the Jackson Hole One Fly tournament. I used to fish for Team Under Armour, and he came on board, and that was his 50th birthday. And he was supposed to catch that one, but I don't know. I was like,
You had
I might have made. I had a good trip, so that's all.
you, as you always have a good trip. I mean, that's awesome. More bonefish. A couple of shots here. We talked briefly about this up in upstate New York, some of the western tribs off of Lake Ontario. I mean, just gorgeous browns up there. I mean, I know you go up there, what, twice a year, at least once a year?
Yeah, yeah. I still have a lot of friends up there as you, and
Hmm.
it's great to get up there and see them and see their family, and just like you, Matt. I mean, I think we do this not so much to catch these fish, but to see everybody and
Yeah.
guys that I've been fishing with whose kids are now in high school and now that it's amazing to kind of see that. And I think I do that. I think I go up there just as much for that as it is to catch these fish. But it is an awesome fishery up there, and I mean, how many years did you and I get to experience it?
Oh my God. I mean, we couldn't wait for like, oh, Labor Day's here. Oh, and then, I mean,
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
in one spot and I'd see this, 6'5" guy. Go, oh, Steve's here now, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, look, there's Steve on again and Steve on again. Oh, and Steve on again. But what I always,
I don't know. You're not giving yourself so much, credit here, bud.
yeah,
So
no, it's all. What I always appreciated was you were also heavily into photography at the time, and you would take some gorgeous pictures of.
I actually still have all those, on slides somewhere. I should send them to you. I got a lot of great shots of you.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'd love to see them. I still have some of the ones. I think we had a coho day, and we had some beautiful ones, dripping water and all that. So
I
yeah,
have some
really,
good ones. Yeah, I'll see if I can find them, and I'll have to send them to you.
that's awesome. Another shot here. This is Cuda, right?
Yeah, that's a big CUDA. They're one of my favorites on a fly. They're just they're insane. I mean, they jump, they fight, and they're just super toothy critters. So they're awesome fish.
And then you have what I hope that you can help me get into.
Yeah, we'll get you one of those. We're adding a trip just for those.
Wow.
We go down to Andros. You'll have some shots,
Hmm.
but I'm going to be adding. I've got a couple of really good spots that target those. So we'll get you on one. They are, for those that don't know, that's a permit, and
Right.
that's the holy grail of the fly fishing world.
Is so I that's a question I have is I mean because I think the same, but then everybody talks about GT's a
No, GTs, they are just because of the size.
right.
Honestly, I mean, I would put roosterfish ahead of GTs just personally. I mean, yeah, those. They're both jacks, so such a cool fish. The GTs are just super aggressive. They're like giant bluefish, but
Okay.
they're 50 plus pounds. Even on our Baja trip, we catch a lot of Jack Crevalles, and they're big, up to 30 pounds, maybe a little bit
Right.
bigger sometimes. But you get tired of them. I don't get tired of catching rooster fish.
Do you get tired of catching these, or the challenge is so
No, I'll
tough?
never get tired
Yeah,
of catching those.
that's
They're just so hard. Like
yeah. Because the eye is like that big. It's like they can see everything.
It's funny. I took a friend of mine, a young guy, last year, and he had his first two shots, and he was like, I'm gonna get permit. I'm gonna get, and he had never caught a bonefish. And it's funny. He didn't even, after catching one bonefish and then seeing the permit, he was just like, that's all I want to do is permit fish. There's just something about them. There's a mystique to them. They're just a different level. And I think the most anybody has ever caught, Mike Ward, who's an old friend, I think he caught his 514th. I mean, he's been doing it, I don't know how many times in his life. Where I can tell you, you can go on a bonefish trip and catch 100 in a week some weeks. So if that tells you the difference, I mean, this guy goes all the time. I mean, probably a dozen, 2 dozen trips a year. If you catch 4 permanent a week, that's like an awesome.
That's a crazy week. Yeah.
So
another shot. I found this on your Instagram. Did you? That's incredible.
Yeah, they're huge in Abaco. Yeah, a friend of mine's an Albury, a guy named Tom Albury. Albury Boats, a Bahamian boat company. He lived there, and every now and then I try to meet up with him. We go do this cool wading trip, and we just rent boats, and it's kind of a DIY thing, but it's fun. I like to do that stuff. It's always fun to go do stuff. Anagua is another place that we're going to be adding a trip to, which is all DIY. It's in the Morton Salt Flats of this furthest southernmost island in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And there's an outer fishery, and then there's a lagoon fishery from the salt pumps that literally have sucked in juvenile bonefish and tarpon and even permit, snook, and everything. And you rent trucks and you get on and you just wade these flats and inside and outside. And I caught a permit there 2 years ago. Wow. And bonefish and tarpon. I mean, it's a really cool, inexpensive. It's kind of a pain to get to. It's hard to get to a lot of those outer Bahamian islands. But it's an awesome place. Like it's one of those, like the weather was so bad before we got there. Our guide was like, "Hey, tomorrow, can you guys catch some fish? Because I don't have anything to cook for you." Like he was like our host that we stay at his house. And it literally because the mailboat hadn't showed up. Like there was barely any food on the island.
Right. So it was, the weather was so bad.
Those are fun trips when you get to go do those.
For sure. Last 2 pictures here. What I truly think is the gem of upstate New York, Steelhead. Just so good. So fun.
Yeah, love Steelhead.
Yeah.
That was really kind of, as you know, I mean, that was like the big thing back in those when I was got 2000, 2001, 2002.
Yep.
Those were you and I mean, how many winter days did we freeze
just to get one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, real quick, in this next picture here, you also partnered with another group, Streamwalker Nets. Tell me about your relationship here.
Yes. So Leaf, great friend, out of Rochester, hand makes these amazing nets. Mills his own wood, everything. I mean, great guy. Almost puts probably too much into him, but he's an awesome guy, great family. And so our 10-foot rod that we designed, we wanted to do something together because that's where he fished, and that's his that's where he kind of grew up doing. So we thought the name would stick, and it's a great name, and so we designed that 10-foot rod we use up there a lot, and we'll make it in like a switch butt too, like a switch rod section as well, so you can kind of customize the butt if you want,
right?
Which is cool, and it's been a great relationship. He's an awesome guy. And a lot of fun. If you want some laughs, you fish with him.
That sounds awesome. Oh, I mean, he's up there in upstate New York. So one day when we're up there together, introduce me, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be very cool. All right. So with Rise Fishing, you also offer destinations, and you hinted at 2 of them. One coming up, the Baja Rooster Fishing trip, and you're doing Alaska again. Let's go through some of these. Let's start with like the Baja trip, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Am I correct?
Yeah. A week from tomorrow. So I have 3 groups this year going down. We partnered up with the Fish Ranch, which is a great operation, woman-run operation down in La Ventana.
Hmm.
and she has an awesome house that she is partnered up with. It's a 3-story house, pool, hot tub. I mean, it's almost like too nice for what you and I are used to in some of the
Right.
fishing destinations we've been to, Matt. But it is first rate. The fishing is unbelievable. The food's incredible. The chef, and she's done some fun things. Like, you don't just, I mean, we always talk about the fishing. Fishing's insane there, but she's done some things. Like, one night, all the guides take us in the shuttle. There's like a shuttle van that takes us to the boat ramp every morning, and we'll go to like the Chrissy Walton 34,000-acre eco ranch for dinner one night. Another night, the guides grab us and we go to the lighthouse and we beach fish, and we go to this. They call it a Mexican hot dog stand. This is the greatest food you've ever had. I mean, it's like you literally are just like, I got this thing and it was so big, and I asked the guy for a knife, and he just looked at me with, and was like, here. He gives me his knife that he was like cutting food with, just wiped it on his shirt and handed it to me. It's like, but it's awesome, and the food is great, and she really made an experience, and I think that's what we strive for. You've heard me talk a little bit about these trips here, that I try to do something a little bit different. We're a little more hands-on, and just a little more of an experience, so you're going to remember and want to come back. And last year, Baja started with 1 week.
Hmm.
There was 8 guys. Everybody returned, and I ended up filling 2 other weeks. And I just think it says a lot about our trip that every one of those guys was like, I'm going back.
Right.
So, which is cool.
And how far in advance should somebody who's watching this, listening, come to your website? How far in advance should they contact you about booking? Is it a year in advance?
Yeah, Baja, I would say 6 months to, if you get in, if you want to go, get in. It's hot right now,
Hmm.
so everybody wants to go. I'll have the same first 2 weeks every year. Basically, the group that comes every year, they get 30 days from it. If they want to go, they send in their deposit the next year, and then once they don't, then I put it out there. Um, I don't advertise a ton. I mean, as you know, like, I've been in there, it's a lot of word of mouth. I've reached out to you on some stuff.
Yep.
These the trips that we've picked are pretty popular destinations, and just word of mouth. Like, I mean, one guy goes, and the next, like, I think one of the guys that was in the first week last year ended up moving to the second week. It just worked out better for him. He's bringing 2 guys with him because he's like, you have to come see this. So that's really what we do. But if anyone's interested, send us an email, on any of the trips and what we have coming up. And we're building up a good email list of where we're going, what we're doing, and all that. And we'll keep everyone in.
Okay, so I mean, like, I see here on the page, the price is 2,500. So what is
25 is the deposit, I
the
think, on
deposit?
that.
Okay, so that's the, I see that, right. So what is included? What am I bringing? What do I need to bring? Like,
So Baja is 47.50 is the price. That includes your lodging. I think next year it's 48.50. It includes your meals, lodging. You get your own room,
mhm.
all your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I always make sure there's some beers for everyone, and then if we go through a lot, then you can buy those there. But the shuttle from the airport is included in that, and the sort of, say, fishing, lodging, and the meals.
So I got to get myself down to the airport from wherever I
Yep.
live. That's not included.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then,
So most people fly into Cabo,
mhm.
and then there's a shuttle. Usually we arrange it. All the flights, it's kind of works out within like a 3-hour period. So everyone meets there, and there's a great bar outside if you have to wait. Like the New York flights, there's a lot of great
Right.
but nonstop flights. So they get in pretty early, and then everyone goes and jumps on the shuttle. There's a cooler of water and beer waiting for you, and it's about an hour and 50-minute drive from Cabo to the house.
Gotcha. And then, what about rods, reels, flies? Am I bringing my own?
So
Do you have?
yep. So we offer, obviously, stuff. You should have at least one 10 weight. If obviously if you break something, then accidents do happen. So we do recommend a 10 weight typically, or 2 10s
Mhm.
with reels, a clear intermediate line, and have your tippet. Flies, they do have them there. You can buy if you like to tie them. We're happy to work with you. But I also, anytime, because we're dealers for other companies, lines, reels, and rods and stuff, we give a discount. So anybody gets an automatic automatic 20% discount that goes on any of our trips. So if they want to get flies through us, reels, lines, anything, it's kind of just a courtesy that we
Right.
extend to anyone who travels with us.
Gotcha. So that's Baja. Then you also have another trip coming up. You said Alaska this year. Is this going to be an annual trip? I know you did it last year. I mean, is that the plan?
I did it 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years.
This year I have, I pulled in. So again, trying to think outside the box. We have Hall of Fame fly fisherman Paul Dixon actually hosting this one with me. Paul is great. He was inducted 3 years ago. Incredible fishing guy, done so much for the industry, for Bonefish Tarpon Trust. He'll be on this trip. Paul's a character if you've never met him. And a lot of fun to be with, and kind of one of the OGs of the Northeast. I mean, he's the guy who discovered the flats fishery in the Northeast for stripers, really, or
Right.
promoted. I'm sure guys did it before, but he's the one who kind of really
Put it on the map.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so how long is this trip? Is this a 6-day trip?
It's a 7-night, 6-day trip. As Alaska, they're longer.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I think too, the Baja one, I think is because it's so much easier to get to, as you know. I mean, you fly to Anchorage, and how many, I'm lucky coming out of New York, I have direct flights, but how long it takes to get there.
I had a great flight, and then of course it was changed, and I ended up with 2 layovers, and I was flying all day. I left at 5 a.m. out of Richmond. It was like the first flight out, and I didn't get into Anchorage until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is, 5 hours later, in terms of the time. I was like, oh, and then of course everything coming back is the dreaded, red eye flight. And you're just shot, on the way back. Plus, you're exhausted from fishing so much, in Alaska.
Yeah. So we actually, it's kind of, so this year, so you fly to Anchorage, and then the next day you got to fly to Bethel. And then from Bethel, there's a charter in. And it gets, legit, it's 3 flights. I mean, we're in an Inuit village, so we're not in a park. So,
right.
They still like harpoon seals. And I mean, this is like you're with the Inuits. It's a very different place for Alaska where we go. Super cool if you ever want to experience kind of what the world is without technology, even though they have the internet and stuff with Starlink now. But it's pretty insane to go there and to talk to these people and see how they live. I mean, they're cut off from the world. It's a pretty amazing place. It's a glamping tent camp, but every year the owner's got to build it back up.
Right. Because the winters are so harsh, they destroy everything.
So hard. Yeah. I mean, it gives you a whole new respect, and you see where the river, I mean, it changes all the time.
Yep.
It's really an incredible place. It is that wilderness of okay, wow, we have it pretty easy where we are.
No, we do. And, when I was on my trip last year, and, we were in Igiagig, which is off of Lake Iliamna outside of Bristol Bay, there's 60 people in Igiagig. And, our guide was telling us how they basically hunt and fish all spring, summer, put everything away, because in winter there is no going out. Like, that is what they will live on. It is that rough, and it's to me that's just incredible. So
it's incredible, and the locals are the nicest people you've ever met. They're just so happy you're here and experiencing what they see every day. And I think that's awesome, because as you know, there's times we go fish somewhere and everyone's like, "Why you got to ruin our fishery?" It's we get some of that. Not all the time, but you go here, and they love to show people what they have. It's just super sweet and sincere.
And we talked about the fact that, I mean, yes, it was like fishing an aquarium, but when you look around in the mountains and the water is so clear, and the wildlife, I mean, eagles and moose and cat, it was like, holy cow, you just lose track of bear, where you are. You're just like, this is incredible. Yeah.
Really. Yeah, and that's what Alaska is, and I think that's why I hope it stays the way it is. I don't know if we'll do it every year. We'll probably go every other year with this one. Logistically, it's just hard. I think in today's world, as you know, I mean, everyone's just so much busier. You can't get away, even though camp, you've got the internet all night long. They have Starlink, but you might not get it during the day, and it's hard for people to spend 8-9 days away.
Yeah.
And the cost, I mean, everything's gone so high. So we'll probably wait a year next year and go back in 27. So maybe you'll be on that trip if you want to go.
So we need to watch your page for other destination trips that you might be planning in the future.
Yeah, so Andros is on there. That'll get uploaded. As you know, I know you're, hopefully you're going.
Oh no,
You're gonna
100%. Like you're supposed to tell me the exact day so I can put my vacation in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll send you those actually when we get off. So I
Okay.
have the everything. I just started booking everything, got the guides lined up. I just try to finalize everything. So I run that a little different. I don't go to a lodge. I
Mhm.
actually rent a house. There's a couple houses on a beach that we get, and that I've gotten to know the owners, and some guides there are good friends. So I get them. I've got a great local woman that comes and cooks for us, and it just becomes a great fun hangout. So it's a cool trip.
That I cannot wait. I am so as soon as you tell me it's I will send you the deposit. We are locked in. I mean, like it, short and funny story. Like I was texting with you and my wife. You remember Darlene? She walks in. She goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I go. I'm texting with Steve Burchard about the Bahama trip." And before I could even say anything, she goes, "Just go." And I was like, "I love my wife."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It
That's
was so
great.
great. Okay. Before I let you go, I do want to talk about this. You are part of a new movie that's coming out called Looking Through the Water, which is from Bob Rich, who is a historic fly fisherman and author here. Tell me about your relationship. How did this all happen? Just give me the lowdown.
So Bob, like you said, great guy, great angler, amazing writer. I would say, and obviously, I mean, look, his business. I mean, Rich Foods is a massive company.
Right.
He's an amazing person. I got to know him through Paul Dixon and my wife. He was a client of both of them. I met him in 2004. And yeah, wasn't super in touch with him. And then a couple of years ago, he had reached out to Paul Dixon and said, "Hey, my book, Looking Through Water," which ironically, on my 40th birthday, I was in Key West with Paul Dixon, and Bob gave me a signed copy of that book. And
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool that 7 years later, I was able to film the movie for that. But yeah, he reached out and Bob had said, "Hey, Paul, like we need casting help." And Paul went down and did a lot of, he was down there for a month and Paul said, "Well, if we need to get a casting guy in here, let's get Steve up there." So I actually was going to do the casting scene for one of the actors, David Morse, who's in it. Cameron Douglas, Michael Douglas is in it,
Hmm.
uh, and Michael Stahl David's in it. There's a bunch of great actors, and I ended up. David really wanted to do his own scene. I actually went into makeup, did the whole thing, and I ended up working with him on the boat right before the scene a little bit more and a kind of I guess the day before and then the morning before. And he did awesome. And it was cool that I was able to be on the boat, kind of help them in the scenes with him casting and, faking hooking the fish and all that and kind of making it look real and being part of it. So I got to spend 8 or 9 days down there. And it was just a awesome experience. It's a great film. It looks like it's going to be out early mid September. I'll let you know if you want to post it, but
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's and honestly, it's a father son story. It's a great book, and if you get a chance, if anyone wants to read it, it's on Amazon, and it's definitely it's a good read.
Yeah, it's even available through his website, which is bobrichbooks.com. You click on it, you can get it right there. So you can purchase it through. So that's unbelievable, Steve. That's a heck of a story to be able to be on a movie set and teach people how to do what your passion is, which is cast. I think that's awesome.
No, I appreciate it. I love it, and I try to, as you know, I mean, we talk a lot, and I think, I get excited. I mean, I'm excited talking to you right now.
Right.
It's just, it's like I'm a little kid when it comes to fly fishing and talking about it, and I think that's why I really enjoy hosting all these trips. Is everyone's like, "Oh, it's so great you get to go." I'm like, "Yeah, but I get to like be with cool people and talk to guys and have guys like you go, and also too, like you've never caught a bonefish, man, and guess what? You're gonna be fishing with me the first day, and I'm you're not stepping off the platform until you catch that fish.
Oh, I
So
mean, look, the moment you told me what the potential, I mean, bonefish, cuda, and permit, like I was sold immediately. And I know I have to work. And what I really like is the fact that as you started off by saying, you work with the clients on those trips, because I know I can hit 50 feet, 60 feet fairly accurately, but I think with some extra guidance, and I have somebody here who's going to teach me too, I want to be able to make sure that I master it, because I don't want to miss the shots that I might have.
Absolutely. And that's the right attitude. The being able to, the difference is like backyard at 50 feet's great, but if you have wind, go to the park and try to throw into the wind.
Yeah.
Do those little things that are going to make you better.
Right.
And I'll tell you that right now, because the nice thing, you're not rocking and rolling on a flats boat, but there's always wind. And whether it's your backcast or forecast, backcast makes you look good. Forecast is a little different story.
It sucks.
So it sucks.
Everything just falls apart for me. It's So I need work with wind for sure.
And then, the factor that you can't duplicate is that bonefish, that permit. The knees get weak. You start to shake a little bit. It's going to take you a little bit. So, I love getting the first timers. I had our last fall's trip to the Bahamas. We had 2 guys that had gotten their first ones. And that's awesome. To me, that's the greatest part of doing this. And, at night, having a beer, celebrating with them that's what this is about.
Yeah. I'm so looking forward to it. Steve, I appreciate it. We have gone almost an hour, and it's flown by. It's been great. So much to talk about and so much to catch up on. And I cannot wait to hook up with you soon in November and do the Bahamas and to see how this movie comes out for sure too. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
I appreciate you having me. I mean, this is great. And I love seeing what you're doing. I love that you're out promoting the sport and doing the things. I wish more people did this. And, it's great seeing, heck, it's been 20, I don't even want to know, 25 years now. So awesome to see what you've done.
I appreciate that,
Steve. And congrats on the promotion, by the way. I forgot to tell you that. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Nightside. I'm actually like, when you first met me, I was nightside, and then I came back to mornings, and it was great because I had a child, Alexandra. So things worked perfectly. And now I don't want to say she's in the picture, but she's done with school. I'm not at softball anymore. So this worked out just perfectly. So
I do want everyone to know that I can't tell you, and you can vouch for me on this one. How many times have I been fishing somewhere and I said, hey, I need a weather report, no matter where I am, and I'm texting Matty D to find out. So that just tells you something about, because there's not many meteorologists out there who are giving weather outside of their area.
Oh, I mean, anytime somebody calls me up, texts me up, or whatever, I will make sure I get that done immediately. So yeah. Hopefully I don't fail when we go on a destination trip. That would really be bad.
It'll be good.
Good deal. Hey, Steve, thank you so much once again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate you having me.
Thanks. And that was Steve Bouchard, again, of Rise Fishing. And you can check out risefishing.com. You can check out the different fly rods that they have. Send him an email. Find out what might be right for you. As he said, the Black and Tan is your beginner series. The level fly rods is really the great intermediate to advanced. And the other ones really work. They just cast really well. Or find out more about their destinations. And don't forget, Looking Through the Water, the Bob Rich book, will be coming out as a movie rather soon in September, or at least early fall. Again, Steve Bouchard was my guest today. He is the president and co-founder, because he has a guy that works with him, but he's really the president and founder of Rise Fishing Company. For now, I'm Matt DiNardo, and we will see you once again for another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D.